Good evening, everybody. This is the fourth meeting of International Exhibitions and Webinars of Design Studios. It's unbelievable for me that we started at 2021. In 2021, it was in October, and today we are doing the fourth one of it. Totally, there will be 8 meetings, so this evening we will be finishing the half of it. Tonight we are hosting 2 teams again, one from Gazi and one from Eindhoven University. Professor Esin Boyacıoğlu and Assistant Professor Hilal, Associate Professor, sorry, newly Associate Professor, I congratulate again, Hilal Aycı, and Dr. Bengisu Ertürkmen Aksoy will be presenting Gazi Architecture's Threshold Studio. And Irene Curulli and Tom Veeger. Tom Veeger, as far as I know, is a part-time teacher at Eindhoven University, and Irene Curulli is professor in Eindhoven University in Design Studio. Will be presenting about their own studio practices. We are recording this event, so I happily inform you that you will be able to watch all these events again in YouTube. We have a special channel now, and we will be adding the videos there. We also have an Instagram page. You can have some information there, what we did and what we will be doing. So I don't want to speak too long tonight, because everybody is living very hard times due to the end of semester. Everybody is doing their assessments, lots of presentations and other things going on in both schools, and everybody is tired, I know. So I immediately jump to Esin Boyacıoğlu and her team's presentation. Is it possible, Bengisu, share your screen so that we can see if it works? Yes, thank you very much. Okay, perfect. And stage is yours, Gazi team, please.
Well, thank you, Pınar, a lot. I would like to say good evening to everybody. It is really nice to see colleagues, even through screens, some of them. And thank you, Pınar, and your team, of course, for organizing this valuable event. And not to forget that you were a member of our studio for a long period of time, that we construct the studio almost together with you. Thank you very much. This evening, we aim to present a design studio experience that expands over 20 years. It was established to counteract the difficulties of third semester students who were finished with their first year of their education. And as well, we all know the first year of this education mostly coaches in terms of abstract ways of thinking and its representation. The aim of establishing the Studio 201 was to translate the abstract way of thinking and compositional graphical skills into designing a structure with a real space. It was to prepare the students for the forthcoming coming design studios. In that sense, the third semester of design courses was designed as a threshold studio. For you to understand it better, I have to explain or give a brief explanation of our education system in our department. Our Department of Architecture has 8 semester curriculum. The structure of the design module of the curriculum was based, following the first 2 semesters basic design studio, on vertically structured architectural design studios. In these studios, all students from 3rd to 7th semesters work in joint venture, let's say. The structure enables the student to communicate intensely with each other without considering the differences of the terms they are studying. This system helps to achieve a critical approach in evaluating their own work and to experience different mindsets of the students and the tutors. However, the 3rd semester students had experienced difficulties in coping with the design problem and the discussions of the jury critics. In order to eliminate this problem, the department had to decided to launch a threshold studio in 2000. It is structured as an introductory studio for the following vertical design studios. Thus, the Studio 201 aimed to equip them with the necessary basic architectural knowledge, but also to encourage them to be innovative, to further their intuitional sense of design into consciousness, and to achieve a critical way of thinking. I will now explain about the structure of the studio itself. The teaching staff of the Studio 201 consists of 4 academics. They are specialists in various fields of architecture, and 4 practitioners with outstanding architectural experience in the professional life. The latter ones, the professionals, are contributing as part-timers. This composition is important to provide an eligible team who has experiences in all fields of architecture, both in theory and practice. Thus, the structure of the studio enables full coverage of both theoretical and practical essentials of the students. Throughout the semester, the students are assigned into almost equal groups in quantity to a tutor, each tutor being responsible for a group and individual critics, which roughly corresponds to 12 to 15 students for each tutor. And in this design process, what are the main steps, the objectives of 201 in this process? As all studios, I guess, we focus on 3 major processes, such as research and understanding, designing, creativeness, experiencing innovation, and presentation, let's say. These 3 processes are to be run sometimes parallel to each other and to be structured in their own evolution to cope with the different personalities and capacities of the students, of course. Understanding process is structured in perception of the main problems with one's own recognition, analyzing the site and environmental factors, contextual thinking within the perspectives of culture, history, society, and functional analysis, of course, the fractions of the program, size and proportion of the spaces, and interspace relations between served and serving spaces, and vertical and horizontal circulations, etc. And of course, activities and events in the way of life which should take place in the space itself. So, as we all know, again, designing is the most challenging process It is dealing with maturing the student's own scenario, clarifying and classification of the obtained or research material to be involved in the process of design. The students must compete with the concepts of complexity, uncertainty, uniqueness, identity, etc., and bridging architectural theory and experience of design. The intuitions and realities, as well as technology and use of materials. Diagramming, sketching, trying to produce by means of drawing and modeling skills. Presentation process, the last one, is dealing with the architectural presentations like orthographic drawings, sketching again, modeling and digital skills, and presentations as well as verbal expressions. And this is okay, but how we are doing the methods? What is our method? To start with the design process in the first years of education is the most difficult phase. In order to smooth this transition, 201 gives two architectural design problems. One is subsidiary, a simple functional problem. The main one is relatively complex. This program is handed out at the beginning of the semester with a must reading list, and the excursions are also organized at the beginning of the semester. First problem, first assignment, is relevant to the main task of the semester on the same site. It is a design problem, not over 50 square meters, and its theme is tied to a familiar activity like dwelling, working, or walking, which are engaged in everyday life. Thus, the task is to transfer a well-known activity into an architectural body, form, space within a very short time period. This first task, given in the same context as the second one, accelerates and eases the process of analyzing the physical and social context. This first phase enables the student to have access to the knowledge by their own and by the critics of the tutors and gain experience. At the end of this process, all projects are evaluated in a colloquium-like jury on the conceptual, spatial, and formal approaches. In this process, all students are asked and encouraged to share their analysis and opinions with their fellow students and teaching staff, of course. The main task of the semester, given at the very beginning of the term, not more than 1,500 square meters, begins right after this evolution. The students are asked to reread the theme, the program, the urban context, and to transform it with their own interpretation by the help of the readings we have given. Specialists are invited to lecture the students, and the 201 staff also provides a theoretical and practical knowledge throughout the semester. After 2 weeks of research and individual critics, many juries are held in cooperation with 2 tutors and their student groups every week. This is a revolving jury, each week in another composition. This method provides the opportunity for the students to discuss their design proposals with each member of the staff and to distinguish subjective inclinations in architecture and experience critical thought in the process. Via these mini juries, an open area for discussions is aimed to be provided. Thus, the students are urged to gain the ability to express themselves not in 3D, 2D drawings, but also verbally. The rest of the week is run by table critics. At the end of the term, each design proposal is discussed and evaluated in a final jury, which is held again as a forum open to all, like a colloquium again. All these design products are exhibited at the studio at the end of the final jury, open for further critics. This is the brief how we guided our studio, and now Hilal Aycı will explain through some examples, and then Bengi Su will go on and she will explain how we had to revise our method due to the pandemic conditions and restrictions, and how we coped with pandemic situation. I thank you all for giving me the floor and listening to me. Thank you a lot. Hilal, floor is yours.
Thank you, Hocam. Hello again. In this part of the presentation, we will talk about the projects of the 2019 and 2020 fall semester, which was just before COVID pandemic. During this semester, our focus was on the historical core of the city of Ankara and the site just close to our faculty building. The main train station of Ankara was designed by one of the important Turkish architects, Şekip Akalın, in 1937. With the new built over-dimensional high-speed train station at the south of it, the area's spirit was threatened. In this context, the design for a pedestrian bridge was the assignment given for the first project, and an information center design given as the main project just opposite of the Ankara high-speed train station building. As the first project, the pedestrian bridge should propose an alternative way to connect the both sides of the city, cut by a wide boulevard, and also to communicate the historical site of Ankara. The design exercise was as well a tool for researching the site of the next project, Information Center, and its both potentials and challenges. Train station and the pedestrian bridge proposes an alternative way of connecting the context, aims to produce relationships between the historical site of Ankara and the information center. Architectural form, motivated by a welcoming and connecting space, becomes a tool for encounter, for dialogue, for curiosity. The program, with its site local in the heart of Ankara, includes a range of public functions that deal with experiential equality. Thus, in the main project, students are asked to design an information center which provides public to address the information of highlights of the city of Ankara and its identity as well. The fact that the station buildings are the welcoming portals of the cities, the design of an information center just opposite side of it and connecting it with a pedestrian bridge allowed the students to write their own scenarios. As you can see from the examples, some students connected the potentials of the pedestrian bridge to the Ankara Information Center. They could benefit from the subsidiary design task. Some students questioned the open space, green space, and pedestrian paths in the site. Some projects searched for new perspectives and worked different concepts and different scenarios. And some students questioned and discussed the understanding of the publicity and public space. As a whole, the students in the studio questioned the concepts of connecting and welcoming spaces, inner and outer space, public and private, and developed valuable experiences from this semester. I finally also thank you for listening to me and want to give the floor to Suer Türkmen Aksoy, who will talk you about our experience during the COVID pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, professors. So in this last part of our presentation, as Professor Esin Boyacıoğlu said, we would like to share with you the student projects of the 2020-21 fall semester, which we had to practice completely online due to the measures taken during the pandemic. In the semester, when distance learning was obligatory, the necessity of making some changes in the Studio 201's methodology has emerged in line with the experience gained in the previous semester, and also due to the fact that students were living in and attending the classes from their own hometowns all over the Turkey and even the world. While we were discussing the project topic, we thought it was important to have a better understanding of the new situations, new experiences caused by the COVID-19 epidemic that we are still living in on a global scale. Therefore, we wanted to focus on the new spaces that are reproduced by the new daily lives of us, and to reconsider the new normals and changing perceptions of the new daily lives, special organizations. So in the process, we wanted to rethink and reproduce the spaces in which people come together, the possibilities of encounters, the inside-outside relations, and so on, within the new normals limitations that provides and answers the needs and expectations on different scales. Keeping in mind the Finnish architect Alvar Aalto's thoughts on Paimio Sanatorium, quote, "The building's main purpose was to work as a healing tool," unquote. The subject of the design project for that semester was defined as a space that functions as a healing center on the scale of a neighborhood, which is an accessible environment from the houses where the citizens has to spend most of their lives. With the COVID-19 epidemic, we had a better understanding of the family health centers in terms of citizens having a direct and rapid access to health services on neighborhood scale. However, it is obvious that family health centers as a space are not sufficient in terms of functional and special needs. Therefore, in the Neighborhood Health Support and Solidarity Center, NHSSC, as we named the student project, it was aimed to provide access to health and support services simultaneously. It is important to note that the NHSSC should propose diversified uses, like having seminars and meetings in crisis situations, such as pandemics, so that citizens living in the same neighborhood can come together for solidarity. Therefore, it was expected from the students to propose a project in which they rethink the given architectural program around the new social and physical needs of the citizens along with the health services. The difficulty we have encountered in determining the project site of this center, which as I told, we aimed it to be functioned on a neighborhood scale, was caused by the fact that the students went to their hometowns when distance learning was started. For this reason, any site to be given could not be physically experienced by the students. So it was decided to choose a site that the students were familiar with and experienced daily before pandemic. Therefore, the land next to the large green public space called Fatih Park, located at one of the exits of the Maltepe metro stop near our university, has been determined as a project site. As the site was very well known and experienced by the students, we decided not to practice the first project, which is, as my professors mentioned before, customary in Studio 201's methodology, and was done in preparation for the act of designing an architectural project and to have a better understanding of the project site. So this was the first change we have to make during the online distance learning semester. By producing a single project during the semester, we aim to focus and spare more time on the program. As can be seen from the image, Jada's project, the projects have come to a point where they are quite developed and very well solved. Another change was to give up making physical models, which we believe is one of the most important tools that students should use when they particularly start to make their first architectural project. This decision we had to make unwillingly was also caused by the difficulties arising from the students' inaccessibility of materials and also impossibilities of sharing the physical 3D model on the 2D computer screen. But we believe that, and as can be seen from the projects I've shown you here, we can say that the students quickly learned the modeling programs also and handled the situation. So before we finish, we would like to introduce you to our new website. I believe the organizers shared the address. In here, you can find the projects that we shared with you during the presentations with the explanations of the program and so on. And also from our Instagram account called Atölye 201, we have created an image archive. You can see the renders and model photos of the previous student projects. So I would like to thank you all for listening. And once again, on behalf of the Studio 201, I want to thank Professor Pınar Dinçkalaycı and her team for organizing this highly important and valuable event and also inviting us to be a part of it. Thank you.
It couldn't be so nice without you, Bengüsü. Thank you very much. It was a very nice presentation. Also, I'm very proud about. I was a member of this Threshold Studio for 15 years before I had my own studio, the studio Think Imagine. So I know how all these things were gathered once, how we did it work, and now how it has progressed so far. I'm really proud of the studio Threshold. Thank you very much for presenting it so nicely. 3 people made it more interesting and richer. Thanks a lot. So I will have some questions about what's happening and also what will happen in the future, but later. Before that, we are going to listen to Irene, Curulli, and Veeger from Eindhoven University. I also want to congratulate Irene because today is her birthday. And she is very kind that she didn't refuse today to be recorded and to be presenting. Thank you very much again for accepting my invitation, and I hope you a very, very good, very healthy, very successful new year and age. Thank you very much. Stage is yours, Irene, and dear Tom, please.
Thank you very much. I didn't expect it, and it's just, I'm very glad to share with you my birthday. Nice day, nice people. So it's, what do I need more? So it's perfect. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thank Thanks a lot for inviting me and Tom to you as a representative to this event. I mean, I've seen others and I'm really enjoying the all differences in approaching a topic, the conduction of the courses or master project or whatever they are. And I think, also, our will be different too. So I'm going to connect the page. Tom is with me. We have been done together different graduation studio and master project. And what we are showing to do today is two of these events, special projects. We structure the presentation in 4 parts, where we give an overview of the context of the both graduation studio and master project within the university profile. And because the topic is about climate change and resilience, it's very important to understand the logic within the Dutch context. And I will give show some example from a final graduation studio and the master project that we did together. Starting with just hold on to with the graduation studio. To introduce, it's one academic year divided in 4 quarters. So we all know exactly when we'll be starting and ending the course. And if the student does not pass this process, he or she has to restart the entire graduation studio. So it's a quite strictly structured and limited by also the attendance of the students. So as you can see, there are some specific requirement. Every quarter, it's a graduation project is offered by the teachers. So it's not a student proposing a topic, but the student can choose in which course, which quarter can apply and enroll in that graduation studio by also writing a motivation letter. So how to choose an atelier? Strange, it's sorry, something. Okay, it takes a little bit of time. How to the topic of the atelier. There are many because they are related to the type of research that we are doing. It's about the different researcher, professors, that all these topics are related to the university and the department goals. So they are within a certain framework, which obviously is quite open regarding societal issue, equality, climate, and so on. And within that frame, the teacher proposes every quarter a general topic as a sort of umbrella, provide the general indication, and the students can define their own theme within that broader topic proposed by the teachers. And here just proposes some of those already proposed for the 21-22 year. We have 3 tracks. We have the annual studio, which means every quarter a new year project starts. Then we have the second track, which is about a continuous studio, maximum 2 students we add to the previous one and grows progressively. So the topic is continuous for 1 or 2, for 2-3 years. And the third track it's called International Graduation Atelier Studio because it provided 3 months internships, and the students gain also 15 credits extra. Also, of course, there are very limited places for this course because it depends on the availability abroad and also the scholarship that the students might receive. Choosing an atelier also is an important issue because we are not teachers does not work independently, but always the topic it's interdisciplinary. So there are always at least two units working in collaboration. So, for example, the chair of architectural engineering is collaborating with the chair of architectural history, or there's engineering course on the urbanism. So it's always there are two disciplines minimum connected with on the same topic. From the students' part, what's expected? First, the methodology is research for design. So there's always based on the research parts, and then where the students learn about the general topic and formulate his research question, and then start the second part of the students. So the first phase, all the entire class, which is usually 12 students, work together in a group research. And then they start to develop the individual graduation topic. And then you see at the bottom the definition of a preliminary colloquium, midterm colloquium, green light, final colloquium. They are fixed, a certain amount of week, and the students, since the beginning of the course, they already know when this will happen. Obviously, within them there are some possibility of retake, but most of the time students try to be within that schedule, otherwise they risk the failure. Next. So the students they have to provide a motivation letter and also why they're choosing a specific course, and they identify first and second choice of the graduation studio. Eventually, there are too many people registering for a course, they might be moved to the next course. And also they have to prepare a portfolio where they describe the type of project they've done so far, to show what is the level of their knowledge so far, because we as a teacher, we might suggest they are not yet ready to take the graduation atelier. From the so they have also the technical administrative requirement from the supervisor. So as it's the clear definition of the research topic, students already basically in principle they know, because they know we are, as a researcher, we are constantly doing the activity, and we bring in a different seminar or master project or graduation. So they know each other, already start to define since the first year which course they might like. We supervise weekly the students, weekly meeting, and the committee is always formed by 3 members, so always full professor and associate professor eventually participate into that. So I want to say that the part of research is very important for in the activity of in the graduation atelier, and it is the topic based on definitely the tutor interest. What is this? So the master project, Tom, it's different compared to the graduation project, because it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, sorry, it's 2 quarters. Then we have halfway a mid-term presentation assessment, also where the students get some sort of warning in case it's not, let's say, good on track. Also here, the students, we have a different master project, so the students can make a choice according to his own interest and study plan. Similar to graduate studio, it's once a week supervision. and different from the other, let's say, graduation project, although, sometimes it's similar. We always collaborate with the local authority and the organization. Tom has been very active in doing that. Tom, do you want to say something?
I think it's true. In a certain way, we find quite a lot of municipalities who like to use the design qualities of students and master groups to find out what are the possibilities of a certain site, or to find a way to have, let's say, in a quite a quick way, an overview of all the solutions you can have, or that it's also cheap. They don't pay too much. Sometimes they will like to pay us for doing that, but mostly it's just giving us an assignment. We discuss it together with the municipality or some other company and try to find out what are also the more research-based questions we can find out. It's not just solving a problem, but also education, of course.
Okay. Then let's say we go now to the graduation master projects. So as I already mentioned, it's about climate change and resilient design, and in the Dutch city, although we are moving with Tom in other European cities slowly. So we start with the Dutch cities. The topic, it's topical, at the moment, but then also as a part of this societal issue that they are within the university. And I'm working also with in relationship to that and water-based resilient solutions. It's a topic, again, I want to make this central position that the individual tutor research it's embedded within the courses, and then it's not only in graduation studio, but it's happening also in a workshop, seminar courses, in a final project. I did also a workshop in Gdansk a year ago that also the topic of the water edge was a part of that with the resilient topic. So embedded both research and education in a very strong linked project. And always we try to produce as much as we can a book collecting the material and publishing of that. Why, introducing the Dutch situation? Well, as you can see, the Netherlands in 1300 and nowadays, so the operation of gaining land from water, which is on one side, it's gaining more buildable surface, on the other hand, bring other problem due to effect of extreme rainfall and water from rivers also coming. As you know, the Netherlands is the delta of let's say of Europe, climate change, so it's making the spatial planning of the Netherlands increasingly complex. So the rising of the sea level increases the risk of floods. There's also decrease of peat soil. There's a drought and heat stress caused by heat waves, and increasing also salinization of the coastal sea. And this is just a short list of the problem. There are at national level also that's base material that students use to national water plan to prevent the issue that we just listed. There are national level, at local level, and then obviously we help the students to get this procedure to understand how they can eventually in the future comply with, and they can bring their contribution to specific with a professional action in the future. This is as you can see. Tom, do you want to?
Yes, there's a website that tells you what will happen if the sea level will go up, and this one is aiming at 1 meter, and it shows if it compares the level of the soil of the different areas compared to the sea. So what you see, and this is a very interesting website, you can choose in what year you are, and you can also choose how problematic it will become. You also see it for the whole world. So for those who would like to visit it, you can see that mostly the areas that compare rivers in deltas nearby the sea will become the problematic areas. And sea level rise of 1 or 2 meters is already predicted. And you can see that 50% of the Netherlands is already below sea levels in 20 years.
So you can see the urge of the problem.
Yeah, and it's going fast. And I think the next slide will show you that besides the sea, we also have a problem by the rivers. And maybe some of you saw some of the news half a year ago that in Germany and in the Belgium and in the Netherlands, we had gigantic floodings from the river, because these rivers ends up in a very small area into the sea. And this delta area is the most problematic area, because it's also the west side of the Netherlands where most activity takes place. We've got the port of Rotterdam, we've got Schiphol, the airport, we've got most people living there. So the combination of having almost 70% of our people living there, combining it with the most dangerous area, is not very nice future.
So
okay, maybe next.
Yeah, and this is also part of the extreme rainfall. And just I want to indicate Dordrecht, which is a place where I've been focusing in the graduation project and master project.
Yes, and I think that the blue area already shows where the problems will start when we have got a lot of rainwater coming from Germany and from Belgium. And that doesn't even tell the story about what happens if the sea level has got at that particular moment quite a big storm. So that combination has already brought us quite a lot of problems. Okay, maybe next.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is a very strange one. We found out that our soil is decreasing. And that goes also quite quickly. So the combination, and having been to Venice, I think it's they got the equal problems. The decrease of soil and rising of the sea level is not a very nice combination.
So problem from top and from bottom, let's say.
Yeah, if there are 4 scenarios how the Dutch government thinks we can protect for the next decades the Netherlands against sea level rise. And the definite choice hasn't been made yet, but yeah, going from top to bottom, protect and reinforce means you become a castle, but the outline of the castle will be a sea level that goes up and up. And at the end, the combination of having rivers that needs to get rid of the water and sea level that goes up is not a very nice one. So protect and keep open means that you have to increase the dikes next to the rivers, because the sea level will rise up and the sea will come inside our country. Third one is to protect us by starting up making new dikes and making new sand dunes inside the North Sea, and designing a new protected area where the water and the level is on a permanent stage. A little bit like we've got in Amsterdam at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth area is to give up and stay alive on a certain island state.
Well, the goal was not to give you a lecture on the problem of the Netherlands, but that's what the students have to learn, starting in the process, and they do all together as a start. Obviously, now they inform each other, start to build a sort of knowledge that passes from one studio to the other. But this is a really important background to understand, the ground where they sit and why they are, they are stable, not stable, what is the future. So how they, as a professional, they should behave in the next step.
Yeah, these are some examples of studies made by urban design studios, professional ones. What will happen if you continue having the sea level rise of 5 meters, 20% more water coming in the rivers, soil decrease of 0.5? And we have to find out new forms of living. And I think as a starting point, this is a very interesting, maybe urgent matter to think about if we use it as a topic in our design studios, because this will be their future life.
Yeah, Okay, so then this is said as an overview. Then we'll give you some example of the courses. We had the Resilient Architecture 1 and Architecture 2, so it's a sort of in a chain, the different involvement of courses. This one I will not enter in detail, but then it's already showing where it's located. It's a formal shipyard area in the Delta that we have been showing before. So it has a sort of a strong identity due to the shipyards, but also in the, so there's a heritage involved there, but it's also very big issue of floods. So this is the context. As you can see, there's a big structure of shipyards and then houses behind a dike. So it's a very unique environment of let's say unusual level between water and land, and seeing from the water, the top of the houses. What the students started first is that what is resilience, and it starts in a different way. Normally, I ask them to do a mind map to understand if they know what resilience is about, and then they start to make group research and to define their own specific thing within the concept of resilience, and they have to write an article about that. So these are the way they are getting together in terms of definition of the different implication and direction of resilience. From the architectural viewpoint, cultural, social, technical, ecological, psychological, and so on. And also understanding, very often it's used the term sustainability equal to resilience. And this is not actually, they learned that it's actually, they are complementary with each other. I found the aspect of complementarity between the two. And therefore, the definition of keywords, it's really important phases, not to simplify their own activity, but it helps also to find the goal they are looking for in the research, the formulation of their research question, which will be the base within which to develop the final projects. So these are the titles, some articles the students have to write in the first part. They also start to learn or get better in writing their own thesis, because they at the end they have produce a book with additional boards with a design, but it's considered as a book production where they explain the research methods, the process they've done it, argumenting the design choices. So this is a draft of those initial documents. They could keep revising throughout the entire year. Obviously, let's say regarding with the methods, there's a mapping phase. This was the entire area they had as assigned, where they defined the different type of land use, the level of differentiation within the land use. They also the aspect of heritage and of the shipyard, the water related activity. They define also typology of regarding the soil, the type of housing, all this within the framework of the general requirement and the specific and the local condition of the site. This is one of those amazing view from the water level that you can see, the all houses behind the dike. And what they produce, it's one image is missing. It's a book and then a model together where they start to pinpoint where they are specifically choosing their own location to experiment those hypotheses they formulated during the research phase. Oh, here's the book. It's a group production. And this in this specific course, also the students work together not only to define their own project within the area, but also they create a journey from, let's say, from Rotterdam to Dordrecht, where each stop of the boats was a site that they've chosen and providing a different experience within this travel. This is also a very important location where the famous windmill of the Netherlands are located, the UNESCO places. So, you know, most of the tourists goes to Rotterdam and they go to this location, or they go from there, Dordrecht down, and they go all the way up to reach this area. So the boats, it's more than just an experience of a stop, but it's more experience of activity related to the water, the damage, and the climate change issues. So this was all integrated by the students, defining each other, who is doing what and why they are, this specific topic were selected. An important aspect of this course was, you know, once you get the theme of resilience, to define specific maxims. And these maxims, they are the guide that each student choose and related their own design. Some of them they choose one, some other two, and connected their projects and so on. This was a base that we follow in the first studio, but also in the second studio. So define the maxim, it was extremely important. And this is also the journals and the book chapters. The students we invite to write at the end of the the graduation project. Sometimes I collaborate with them, sometimes I advise some journals where they can write, and this is from this course. Sometimes it's just, you know, specific only the project, and in journal article it's all a story about this climate change issue in the Delta area. The graduation atelier on resilient architecture is the one that we did also with Tom. Is the city of Dordrecht. Do you want to introduce, Tom?
Yeah, Dordrecht is smaller compared to Amsterdam, but it's a very old city. It's also based on the medieval trading. It was a connection, it was a crossroads of a couple of rivers, and trading was quite important. It's also a polder landscape, and parts of it are at the moment are where nature has taken over. So it's the dikes has been taken away, and it's a place where flooding also can take place. It's also a dangerous area because it's in between. It's in between two rivers, the Maas and the Rhine. It means that during wintertime, flooding is possible when we've got a high tide coming from quite a lot of water coming from Belgium and from Germany. If you compare that with the very problematic situation, if you've got a western storm when the water is pushed from the sea, the expectations are that there is a possibility that one or two dikes will break, and this possibility normally they think it will happen one in 1,000 years, but the chances are going down, so that will be 1 to 500 or 1 to 200. So the chance that on a couple of locations the dikes won't be strong enough is a real future development, and that means that people need to think in a different way. Where are the safe areas? How do we can take care of that particular moment that flooding will take place? Also, which part of the city will be flooded?
And so Tom said also the city of Dordrecht is at the confluence from the rivers and the water surge. So there's really the confluence of the two types of water, which also generate ecologically new different type of, let's say, marina possibilities. So this is, as you can see on the islands, basically, this is the city of Dordrecht.
In the past, the city has been conquered from the water. It has been a swamp for a very long time, and now you see a lot of old dikes already still existing in the old and the new part of Dordrecht. And they're dealing with the idea that within 20 years it will become a problem. And I think that was a very nice starting point for this design studio. How do you cope with it? How do you become resilient? And how do you manage this amount of people who live there? What you see here is the old part of Dordrecht. An interesting story about this is that most of this older part of Dordrecht is outside the protecting dikes. So people living in the real old part of Dordrecht, the city center, are already used that flooding happens. So I think at the beginning you saw the first slide, that was one of the photographs made during one of the floodings. So people know that the first ground level of their house can be flooded.
And this is one of the busiest nodes in Europe, the confluence of the rivers. So you can see there's a lot of traffic is also happening there with boats related. Well, this is the course that we have, the graduation atelier. As you know, the research is the initial part, as I mentioned before, and research includes also not only production after 6 weeks from the beginning, but also excursion in places. In this case, students, we went 2 days in Dordrecht and then a few days in Venice. Exactly the time was when it was the Acqua Alta. So then there's a relationship they also analyze in this period. Obviously, you know, all these drawings you can see more in detail, you know, also in the web link that we'll give to you. But then what we want to show in these images that the students, again, they have to learn all about, you know, the territory that they are going to work with, and in the group they subdivide within the large group of students. In those they are studying, you know, the history of the place. Those one are studying the water problems from the general issue, get into details and to the different management system the university, the government is taking, opportunity, risk, and so on. Or the water defense also more in details, the approach with regard to the policies taken, the aspect of the ground, the soil, the subsidence aspect that were let's say to learn from the risk and the opportunity. And they present all this in many ways. That you saw the previous one was a book. In this one we propose, or they came also with the idea that make a big journal, like a big size, and each you know, stripe is basically related to one topic that they analyze, and they present officially to us. And this is also a moment where they have to present also the specific research question, that because this is the phase where they step to the individual project. So why that area, why, which kind of methodology they are going to use, and motivated their own choices. So these are still more of those stripes that you have seen. Tom, do you want to say about the trip?
We thought it was wise to go to Venice to see maybe a little bit Acqua Alta, because we knew in September that normally in November you got these kind of problems. There has been a storm 2 days before we were flying to Venice from Eindhoven, and this was quite a heavy storm, and that pushed the water up to almost 2 meters at San Marco. And yeah, when we arrived, this water was still there, and it stayed there for almost 3 days. Okay, it went up and went down, but at particular moments we had 1.8 meters in the lowest point of Venice, and that was at San Marco. We were able to visit the Moses project, at least not the project itself, but the defense system that has already been there for a couple of years. They have been working on, I think, almost 10 years or 15 years. So we went to the Arsenal, where the office of this company is, and we had, let's say, 2 hours discussion and a presentation about it, and the expectation they have. And yeah, during that particular moment, there was also quite a lot of comments from the locals discussing the problems and asking why the whole Moses system still didn't work to prevent against this kind of floodings. And I must say that it had a gigantic impact on our students. To being there, and a couple of students really, there's a difference to feel it and to walk through water and to stay, let's say, 1.5 meters with your jeans on in the middle of San Marco, becoming really wet, and understanding that this flooding is a very silent thing to happen, because it comes up and it goes down, and it's not something like a big storm. It just comes. It's we call it the silent wolf. And I must say that, you can tell something. You can tell how difficult it was in the past, and we had flooding in 57 or 58, and everybody say, yes, of course we had flooding, and it's very terrible. But being there and walking through the water makes a difference.
And then the other trip was in Dordrecht, but beside the description of the places, I would say that the field work and the excursion is part of the requirement within this year of the graduation project, and the students always they choose, or we suggest a location where to go in order, which is related to the specific topic of the graduation studio. So there's always a moment of field work that enforce the, let's say, the theoretical part with the practical one, and also strengthen more the group in itself, because they are all working together, and they feel, they connect each other in a strong way, as they have to be together for one full year. Okay.
It worked quite well, and we had 2 days of rain in Dordrecht, so
just for change.
It didn't.
And then when it comes to field work, they had to do site perception. They defined those criteria. They represented through drawings, images, and so on. They also did site perception of Venice, and they start to make the comparative analysis between the two places, and the impact of flood also in how is showed in on the location, and what kind of interpretation, materialization it occurs on the site specific. And then even they produce a glossary of the terms for the entire course. So also, the course is not only by Dutch students, it's international student too. And the terminology of water has a very different meaning according to each country, or the Netherlands, it's born from water. So therefore the variation of terms it's so incredibly rich, and the Dutch students nice way help to translate and create the similarities that everyone, the entire course, had the same glossary, the same terminology to use throughout the entire year at the final presentation. And here come a sequence of projects. Again, we're not going into detail, but this is also leaflets the students made at the end of graduation, which is also available, where they, in a 1 A3 page, they summarize those key elements of for the design, starting from the urban location to the general issue of the concept, developing to architectural level and technical level. So there's a sequence of design development that go through the different scales. Tom, do you want to say?
Yeah, this was very interesting, because it didn't want to fight the flooding, but it would like to use the flooding to start aqua agricultural community that could live and needs this flooding to grow crops. So instead of fighting something, if you can't beat them, then join them. Try to work and to live with water. And I think that was a very interesting and smart idea, and she worked on it quite well. Second one was, are you able to predict that what happens and then how you deal with it? So Eva thought about the idea that even if you have got flooding, that people needs to be have lodging and housing, even if it's temporarily. And are we able to reorganize that at the moment the flooding will happen, that people will be able to build within 48 hours a new small village on a safe zone, by their own, instead of waiting for the municipality or waiting for the government to come in, because expectations are that if this flooding will happen, problems will be everywhere. So you can't rely on government only. You need also to take your own action. I think that was a very interesting idea. Yeah, be aware of water can we show how we clean water? It's a little bit different, but it was interesting to instead of hiding what we nowadays do, when we use the water from the rivers, it's not clean enough for drinking water, so we filter it in different stages. And what she did in the middle of Dordrecht, nearby the rail station, she built a large building that was only focusing on cleaning and living with water and showing how the system works. And it makes them aware that water is something that you also need. And she did it quite technical, and it was a machine, it was a building, but it was also a social place where people could gather. Yeah, maybe next one. Yes. If you've got a lot of people coming from abroad, we've got asylum seeker center where people could stay there for half a year or a year, finding out if they're allowed to stay, and secondly to give the first stages of going into the Dutch society. But most of them also have had quite large troubles during their journey from these areas coming to the Netherlands, and some of them also have got psychological problems. And how do you deal with that? And are you able to use the landscape and the combination of water and land to heal people? Are we able to make an healing environment using our swampy nature? And I think she did it also quite nice. And I think the last one was David. David was quite high graded, and he ended up at Aycı. That was very nice. He made a poem about making people aware, let's say a concrete poem spread in a park landscape, showing the people that what happens behind the dikes. So he opened up the dikes and showed that the water will be flooding inside the landscape. And he was dealing in it with, in a more arty way. And his essay was also based on a poem from one of the Dutch famous poets. I think the combination made it quite interesting. This was also one dealing with. I think most of you are aware that our architecture is mostly made out of bricks. And bricks comes from clay, and clay is something we dig out of the riverbed, and we get it for free. If you go to Swiss, they are very perfect dealing with concrete, and if you go to Norwegian, they can make very nice wooden architecture. But we are used to work with clay and bricks, and I think the interesting idea was to reuse this system and combine it with algae production. So reuse the idea of dealing with clay and showing it, how we can deal with clay and reuse it and use it again, and also how we can feed ourselves by algae production using the water that's there, and combining it in the two necessary things we need. Yeah.
Use the process of a sedimentation of the water, different layers.
Last one is, are we able to make a defense system like a castle with towers to protect at least one part of Dordrecht? And these towers, can they use as a safe zone, and also can they be autonomous? So these buildings were made like a windmill. And just like the Kinderdijk, most of you know, where we see all the 20 windmills in a row, this was a circle of gigantic buildings that were producing by wind their own energy, and also were dealing as the safe center to protect at least one part of Dordrecht, and secondly to lodge for a certain period of time the people who needs to go to these areas, because the other part was already flooded.
Okay, then we have the master projects, so still continuing in Dordrecht, but in this area which is not in the city center, but in an area which is originally, it was housing, industrial area, transformed the houses, now they re-intensify to housing, but then it's also above the city, above the water level, 1 meter. In that case, in case of a flood, would be with a place where all people from Dordrecht would move to, because it's safe. In the meantime, just waiting for rescue boats to be moved to the other safe area. Tom.
Yes, we were invited by Asst, that's an international urban design studio, who was working with the municipality and the International Architecture Biennale of Dordrecht, to figure out if this is a real solution for this problem, at least temporarily, to protect the people and to make a safe haven for them. How does it work? And they invited 6 different offices in the Netherlands to work on this particular topic. And they also invited a master group from our university to think in a different way. So they gave up some part of this area. And what you see here is the area that is normally in the past was used as an industrial zone, and also an area where a lot of shipyards were combined. And a small zone, you see the red zone, was where already it's more the poor area, where the people working at the shipyards were housed by the social housing corporations. We've got one of the social housing corporations we've got in Dordrecht. Okay, next, yeah, it's a little given. There was a plan made to develop a housing project in abandoned industrial zones, and also, as far as you know, shipyards are also abandoned in the last period of 20 years. So Asst made a plan, and they invited us for the center part to come up with a couple of different solutions. And we already told you, sometimes people mail us if we are able to work together with them in a master project. We give the students, of course, freedom to develop maybe completely opposite plans as what the municipality wants or what Asst was, just to start a discussion. And that makes it interesting. Also, the sustainable development goals, if you look at what we've done in the 1 year graduation studio, a master project is more compressed. It lasts only 1 semester. So research that has to be done is mostly 4 weeks. And design process takes 10 weeks. So it's a quick development they need to go through. In the beginning, in the first 4 weeks, they do this kind of research to find out how it will work, what are the background information. They read also the stuff we developed in the graduation studios, but they also have to find them also by themselves. So different topics will arise, and they need to find a way to show it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the studio also was after the graduation studio, so we provide also the all material from the graduation studio to prepare the students. So there's a follow-up, there's a link between the different type of courses, also for seminars. But anyway, the structure is similar. They have an analysis part as a group work. Obviously, the group is even smaller. There are 2 students working together. Most of the time, turn that those that do the analysis as a small group, they do also the project together. And this is a sequence of image of this of the let's say analysis part according age of people, the edge of the area, and so on. And they define 3 types of master plans, within which each individual, because it's individual projects, define one building or section within a master plan to test with their own design, and learning from this next stage, eventually modifying the master plan level. You want to explain the?
Yeah, it was, I'd say it was a strange question, assignment, because normally the first part was that they need to make a normal neighborhood that will develop nearby the waterfront of the river, that should house a couple of thousand inhabitants. Secondly, they should take into account that at a certain moment, this whole area will be filled with refugees coming from the flooded area. So they need to take care of the idea that within 24 hours, you need to find housing for almost 10 times the amount of people. And normally, if these things happens, tents and shelters are not the most best things to do. When you've got a storm of 9 or 10 knots, then you don't want to start building tents. So they need to find a way to how do you house 10 times the amount of people that normally live here. That was the second assignment they have to be taken care of, also in the urban master plan, but also focusing on one of the buildings to figure out how you can change for at least for 2 or 3 weeks office space or libraries or shops into shelters.
Yeah, so the master plan had the before and after, basically, to show the capacity of receiving X amount of people in a very short time. So we also dealt with the pandemic that periods, and we are really lucky because we had iPads from the university. Aycı students could have one iPad, and we communicated very easily, sketching with drawings immediately getting visible, and also uploading some apps where they could do augmented reality, and so it was also a way to experiment new graphics, and also I think as a compensation of the let's say the isolation the student felt through the use of iPads, they were able to communicate easily because we shared the same hard disk, and therefore the communication was very quick. They sent to me, I was sketch, and then they could immediately see. So this was part of the innovation project the university also gave it that year, and I applied for that type of funds to get this instruments. And this is more in detail one of those projects that in detail one student developed. So taking from the large-scale master plan, defining a specific spot, and developing the building and surrounding within the condition of before and after, the eventually floods and the need of having additional receiving rescuing more people. You want to explain, Tom? I think we are running out of time.
Yeah, we're running out of time, so it's nice to see the pictures, I think.
Yeah. So the other one, well, it's a different approach, but it's about permeability. Then explain this relationship with the waterfront, and also in this case, there are the group of two. They developed two specific building that also embed the aspect of temporality and the long-term living in relationship with the water. And the third one also regarded defining specific interior streets with that connect the waterfront also with the existing neighborhood, the red one that you have seen before. Sorry, I try to insist, colleague.
I think it's interesting to find out that these plans are used by the municipality as an idea, as a brainstorm. For them, they need to develop this area, and now they got 3 different master plans, also compared to the existing master plan, and also some arguments why to do it in this way instead of doing it in the way that they are going to do it. And that brings in the discussion, and Westdag was very happy with this, that it makes, that student plans are innocent. It doesn't mean anything for them. It's not like if you pay, let's say, 20 or 40,000 euros from an urban company to develop something. So student plans are more innocent. You can discuss it without having the idea that you are really offending somebody who's done a lot of work in it. And from the other side, it brings in, and we found out that in different spots already, that in Eindhoven and in Venlo and in different areas where they ask us to do so, that it opens up a discussion, because you show maybe sometimes very strange solutions that's sometimes give them an option and sometimes gives an idea from, oh my God, never thought about it in that way.
Before going to this, because students basically at the end of the project, they were supposed to make a sort of a short video, few minutes of the entire project. And before going to that, because I have to stop with the sharing, I would like just move to next slides, where the students were invited in Dordrecht to present, to exhibit their own work. So it's a part again of communicating the results of the whatever graduation studio through articles or master project through exhibition. So the final goal is an outcome that goes outside of, let's say, university perimeter. And this case was the international exhibition from the Biennale of Architecture in Rotterdam, organized by West Acts. And last but not least, this is just to give you the larger perspective of the broad perspective of the topic of resilience and water. We are also building an e-learning course on this topic. It's a part of an Erasmus Plus project that will be online, well, I think in 1.5 year time, where it will be open to the students, and the topic will be in organized in 4 different modules about the climate change, the aspect of heritage, impact, and so on, that face the issue of climate change and architectural development in a relationship with a resilient approach. Okay, so go back to the last, and I hope to manage to make the link. So I stop sharing for a second. Stop share. Okay. Where are you? Are you seeing something or not?
No, you should share it again. You're not sharing your screen.
Yeah, but I try to see where to share.
Down on the green button.
I can find.
At the bottom, there's screen share. At the bottom.
I know.
Through the middle.
I've lost the image to share. Oh, here you are.
Okay.
Okay. Now you are seeing.
Yeah, we see. Thank you.
Dordrecht de Staart is an area in search for a new identity. The urban plan is about reciprocity and producing city fabric, functioning as safe haven during emergency. The hybrid building is its schip. Here, public life, producing and living work together in close relation, enabling reciprocity between its users. In order to do so, the transition should be self-evident. I searched for a building that is enabling these transitions and confident as volume in its context. On top of the existing factorial, a new volume is embedded. On the ground floor, a transition takes place from public life to producing. On top, office floors and living create a hybrid building. They come together on the second floor. Here, a connection is made. At the left side, the floor is more public. At the right side, there's a bigger open floor for producing. In the middle, there's a shared workspace. From the other side, a more direct transition is made. Visitors directly experience the new building. Via the workspace, they can go to the living room, which has a view onto the shipyard. The desks of the workspace are on the rails just like a ship on the slope. They can push together and form a stage. Here, people can come together, meet, or work in the atelier. On the third floor, collective living takes place. Different apartment types allow different users. Each cluster covers 2 floors, creating an open shared space. The social potential is high, but the privacy of the users is kept by creating small transition zones and buffer zones. The flexibility of the design allows extra rooms to be turned into sleeping rooms, and the option space shared by the residents to be turned in a bigger sleeping room for refugees. They can eat in a common space. The building is able to take in almost 1,000 extra refugees on the flexible floors and living floors. This flexibility is in line with the Sustainable Development Goal 11, as well as the sustainability principles of the building. The building is, for example, naturally ventilated by using a ventilated facade and a sun chimney. The construction is a prefabricated panel construction, which allows easy and quick construction, and designed in such a way that the COT beams and columns are visible from inside. Where the facade turns inside, the pattern changes and it becomes a green facade. Here you can see how you experience the building from the public square. When you enter the building, you have to explore the building. Going up, you can get into the atrium and have a view on the shared workspaces. The living room has a view to the outside. Here, people can come together and meet. The stairs functions as well as informal waiting place and seating. Here you can see the living floors. They are organized over 2 floors in clusters. Each cluster has a shared living room and option space they can fill in by themselves, enabling reciprocity.
Okay, I think we stop with this, Tom.
Yeah, I think it's good. But it gives you an impression how this project you did by innovation.
1963, een van de koudste winters ooit in ons land. De temperaturen liepen terug tot de...
It was a nice, it was nice adding this option to the master project.
Was an exercise, very genuine exercise, and I think that was the last image of the project. Thank you so much to all of you for your time. We extended, maybe too long. Well, and we are glad that everyone can get to the link and see the projects in more in details, and feel free to contact us, the students, for any question. We're very welcome to provide you also material, and welcome to Eindhoven, definitely.
Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Tom. Yes, it was longer than I expected, but it was so nice that I couldn't stop you. Each example you were showing was really broadening our ways of seeing things. From their graphic, from their thought, from their poetic value, from their urban discussion, and also the planetary discussion that what's going to happen to the riversides, to the coastal areas. Turkey is also facing with some problems. They're not severe at the moment, but it's very obvious that it will be. So it is architecture's one of the must subjects of architecture and architectural design, and also the education. Thank you for introducing it to us and sharing with us. It was very teaching. Your presentation was also very, very valuable to me, especially in understanding your school's approach to the education. I'm very happy to hear that you are so linked with professional world, to the authorities, and also journal writing and book publishing. So you're doing everything. I mean, not only teaching architecture, not only doing the design thing, but also making the films. I can count many things, but all included in architectural education. Maybe I should start asking to you, what else shall we introduce to architectural education? I mean, we have the VR glasses nowadays, and there's a big discussion on metaverse is coming, and there are real problems here in the planet. There are some problems in the Mars and on the moon, how to get there, how to settle there. And there are some problems dealing with the virtual environments. So how do you think this architectural education will evolve soon?
Well, it's quite a question. Well, I would say, how to evolve. First, I believe that the education of an architect is no longer, the position of the architect is just a tiny piece within a larger scale of development of the world. So I think education which is only focused on architecture, it's very limited. And I think the multidisciplinary knowledge, it's essential. So basically the student dealing with different contexts, problems, having also other teachers from other disciplines are basically prepared to enter this global system where they are, portion of that system, and they know how eventually understand and respond to other requests. So it's a level of flexibility they have to learn. And climate change is also such a big issue, cannot be faced by one side. So you need a climatologist, you need an ecologist, you need the architect, landscape architect, and so on. So that's something they have to deal. There cannot be an architect solving one problem, but it's a collaboration among architect and other discipline that can provide a certain type of solution. So for example, in my case, I'm also a landscape architect. I bring that knowledge within the architectural frame. So I try also to see the project go beyond the architectural building and try to embrace the environment and how to deal with that. The soil, students normally of architecture think of the soil, the foundation, the end of the story. But learning about the soil, sensitivity of the soil, what the soil can produce is another level to understanding the problem of climate change and how we are responsible and can react to it.
Okay, thank you very much. By the way, how many students do you have in your groups when you are doing it? Because it's a collaborational work, and there are different disciplines in it. And how many students of architecture are trying to learn something in the system?
Well, we have every graduation studio has 15 students.
15?
15, yeah.
Okay.
They are the 100% architecture. They choose, we only work in the discipline of architecture. In the bachelor, we work together with all different kind of disciplines, all real estate and structural design. Most of them are included in our faculty, but this graduation studio is a master project. They choose already the discipline of architecture. So in that particular part, we don't collaborate anymore.
Okay.
We've got the possibility to do it, but most of them really choose to go into the depths of the discipline of architecture.
I see. So there is 15 people, 15 students, and 2 tutors of architecture. Is that so?
Architect, yeah, exactly. And then through the way we have a lecture and activity outside, are creating this multidisciplinary environment. For example, when the Resilient one was about water, so we went to do the Landscape Architecture University in Wageningen, and that a contact with the laboratory of water system. So that's always a try to let's say, mingle as much as possible with the other discipline, also from cultural geography, inviting guests. So they get this perspective of different view perspective on the same topic.
What we ask of them to find the knowledge. We've got a lot of questions, and to be honest, I don't have the answer to. But I'm curious to find out the answers, and they provide us after a couple of weeks. They come up with the answers, and then we give them another question. So it's for us, it's also interesting. You learn a lot during that process, but from the other side, you force them to find different information, to do real research, to find a solution. And we can't, let's say, for the future profession as an architect, in my idea, you need to be curious. And you need to understand what other professions are doing. You don't need to go into the depths of their knowledge because you depend on them. But you need at least to be able to discuss certain problems with them and understand what you ask the other disciplines like building physics or landscape. So what we learn them is to search for the answers of quite a lot of different questions. And mostly they come up with by their own already with these questions. And maybe they don't know everything in the depths, and you can't expect that during 1 year, but at least they know how to search for it.
Yeah, it's the critical issue. How can you criticize a certain post question, especially for for example, the master course? We gave the master plan, but then it said, okay, that's the departure point. Give a comments on that. So it's not about following what they are suggesting, but actually reacting to that, and new choices have to be argumented, in depth, and they did. So that's the scope of the research as a base.
Okay, I get the point. Thank you very much. There is one question. Oh no, there are two questions. One is from Zeynep Uludağ. I'm sure you know Zeynep Uludağ from the times of winter schools that were done in our school, Gazi University, Department of Architecture. We all thank to dear Esin, Hilal, and Bengüsü, and special thanks to Irene and Tom for sharing their valuable experiences with us. Also, we are thankful to Irene for being with us in such an important day. Happy birthday, Irene. And we wish you a very happy and healthy life full of joy and success. The question is
now
for Irene and Tom. Yes, and the question. Today, encourage students to make collaborations with other disciplines or with other students from different faculties. Other students from different faculties. Student collaborations.
Students, I have that not in the specific course that we showed, but I have also another course which is about heritage, also relationship to climate change, and there are students coming from different departments, and I think they are the most fruitful and very surprising results that we get. So they are complementary in the let's say in the knowledge, and they are able to work quite well. Those are able to read the data, the other one are more graphic skills. So combined with the different disciplines, that works quite well. So I have experience on that. Not directly designing, but other activity or seminar, for example, they're also from different disciplines.
Don't you think that once you are introduced to so many knowledge, so different areas, you are run with that knowledge and try to start to forget about architecture? Maybe did you feel such things? Are there some dangers in there, or students just stick on their own discipline more? once they start to hear others, what others are saying.
They are not reactive, they are
happens,
flexible, they understand they are so strongly stick to architecture, but they understand they have to see from different perspectives. So it's reaching the view, it's not going on the fence, but and widening their own perspective. So I never had any sort of defense attitude. Actually, no, we had a workshop related to this IKEA project, which is the final show. A student from tourism, students from culture geography, we had students from engineering, different from mathematics. Yeah, and they all work on the same project. So they complement each other. They were really expressing, okay, we know more data, how to provide this information. They looked and then created, you know, the needs of the designer one. So it was very cooperative, and everyone felt, you know, giving the same amount of work within the same product. So yeah, I don't see any problem. It might be at the beginning they are not understanding each other, but after, you know, a little guide, they understand how they can reach each other, and really the team becomes stronger and very effective also in the product. And you see when this type of collaboration, multidisciplinary, the elaboration is there, you see how rich is also the project.
Okay.
Can I add something to it? Maybe there's one thing you should take into account, that people can work together if they have got knowledge about the discipline. So you can't do that. Yeah, it's nice to collaborate with other disciplines, but it's also nice to go into the depths of your own discipline, else you can't hand in information. You don't have enough knowledge to work together. So it's about balancing. It's always the same discussion also in our bachelor. Should people go into the depths of their own discipline, or should they learn how to collaborate? But it's always something you can only collaborate if you've got a lot of knowledge about your own discipline and you're open to work together. So it's also going into the depths of your own discipline, to understanding, to work, to design, to learn again, to do that design circles a couple of times, and then you're able to work together, because then you've got enough learning experience about architecture to be an architect in this kind of teams. So there is not really an answer or one direction how to do it.
Yeah, it has some reinforcing effect.
Yes.
I see. Thank you. Okay. There's another question from Professor Aycı Akalan. She also presented her studio in the second meeting of us. It is sad to know that Holland will have flooding problems in the future more than present. Could you compare national and international students in terms of creativity? Being from the place, make these national students more creative? Do they feel better, understand the importance of the problem, and create much better solutions?
No.
Yeah, maybe a short answer for that.
It's a universal problem. Okay.
It's nice because David was a Mexican student who graduated with honors and went to the Archipri. He came out of the desert in Mexico. So the first time he was biking through Dordrecht and having two days of rain, for him it was something unbelievable, because he never saw so much rain in 48 hours of rain. It's quite a lot. For him, it's I think it rains one day a year or something in the desert. So for him, it was something completely different what he was used to. And yes, he was in it. For him, it was an eye opener, because he came from the other side of the world, about finding out who the different world looks like of the other part of the ocean. And I must say we dealt with that very well, because it was completely opposite what he normally had seen during his whole life. So yes, I think we are very happy with foreign students, because this international influence give also questions you normally don't ask yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, there's, I think also for the Dutch students is eye opener, because environment, they are so much used, the water issue, they are used with the dikes, so on, and get this very naive question from the foreigner students, and they ask them to see again what for them it's given. So in that sense, they become also more collaborative and providing information to the international one. So at the end, become a very complementary collaboration among the national and international students.
And they normally don't come up with the things you can expect because they are not used to it, and they don't have the Dutch answer. They have got no answer. So I must say they're quite creative with what they come up with in the graduation study, and sometimes really surprising. And also very interesting, I must say.
Yes, we teachers are in the position of learners. In fact, I don't think that we are teaching anymore. We are doing the teaching anymore, but still everybody is learning from the experience, and your experience is collaborating with each other, trying to make people collaborate with each other, so that fresh ideas just come out, fresh and poetic and new and real creative ideas come out. I congratulate you for this, and also for the funds you were able to have, because this is a big job. This is another thing to run after, not only teaching, but also doing that all administrative and formal and bureaucratic and other blah blah things. They look for, they take a lot of effort, I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, congratulations for that. So nobody asked Gazi team anything. I just want, I have questions. First of all, I know that you are dealing with a lot of numbers. That's why I asked Irene and Tom how many students they were dealing. Of course, they are doing some master's work and the diploma projects and other older students they handle. But your second year studio is very, very crowded as far as I know. Maybe you can underline the number of people you have to teach. And I would like you to explain how you handle it. I mean, it is a well-known standard that 10 students per one teacher, or 15 maximum per teacher. It's all over the same Europe, I suppose. Maybe Irene can say it. Is it the same in your school as well? But how should we handle the crowd in the classroom? How do you do it?
Well, thank you for asking the question, because we are suffering from the crowded classrooms, especially in this pandemic situation. And also, while they are only the third semester students, they are really new in architectural education. So they need more, how do you call it, more attention and more time from each tutor. So for us, it was very hard task to deal with them. We give our best, but you know, it's a government's policy. Each year they are just making the codes higher and higher, and we don't have enough room for those all students that they can work in the classroom and work in the studios. So it's a kind of, you know, as I said, struggling. We are trying to find our way with our fingertips, and by giving from, you know, from own time. We are making each project day. We have to live in the school more and more. We have to give more and more time for the students. So it's quite tiring, I must say.
Okay, I asked it because despite the high number of students and the high effort you show, you don't lose quality. The final products the final products I saw here were really fine, still poetic, still have the sense of architecture and sense of drawing, sense of model making. I think they're all very well done. So do you think that people also learn something from Google and something from other sorts of vehicles, some videos? In Irene and Tom's case, people were learning from other disciplines, but nowadays students have opportunity to learn from some other sources than the teacher. I mean, there are lots of things to read, there are lots of things to watch, there are documentaries about how to build. Do you think in their spare time they feed themselves with those kind of materials, so that when they come to you, they are a little bit more not full, but let's say have the notion of architecture, let's say?
Well, of course, we like to promote that they research and that we are not the only source to learn from. There are many other sources that they have to seek for. And also this kind of learning process enrich their, of course, minds. And as I said in our presentation, this way of question asking, critical thinking, and etc. So we are trying to give this curiosity. It's not always easy, but we are trying to inject it, you know. I'm not sure for each student, but if you are, there are some semesters in which some students are really curious and they are eager to learn more than we give. They can manage to take the others with them to the upper part, but sometimes it's not always the case, you know. It depends on. But I must say, Irene and Tom, we were really lucky to hear you. I mean, this is a kind of social responsibility, this kind of environmental responsibility. It's a position taking an ethical position to search for the problems that are inevitable in a short time, let's say. Thank you for your presentation a lot, really awesome.
Thank you very much. I can ask you a question to Esin, because you mentioned, well, I really enjoy the project of your students, you know, very,
thank you.
Let's say, sensory. I mean, I could really feel, you know, the pleasure of the materials, the physical aspect of them. So it's really interesting, materiality of them. The words was not coming. I was interested in the article and the readings you give them. How, you know, it's something that you decide every year, it's a specific... Every semester. So there's any chance for them they introduce something of their own choice, that give their own specific input? How does, because that's an interesting part of creating the grounds for the students. So I was interested in that aspect that you give in the preparation.
Yes, the reading is depends on which topic we are dealing with at that semester. You know, we are making a research and preparing this list. Of course, they are very welcome to introduce their own reading material. That is very helpful for us too. And well, so yes, we are. It depends on which topic we are dealing with at the semester. The readings are more combined with the varied problem, let's say.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because usually the students tend not to read. They are more,
That's right. That's right.
That's
yes.
why we forced to write, to do research. Otherwise, they get to the end of the project, they are not, have never written a single line, which is extremely
Well,
beneficial.
reading is easier than writing, I must say. Writing is the most difficult task.
Step by step.
Yeah.
But congratulations for your project and a very nice collaboration that you have. Very good support.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it's better to stop now because Irene has a birthday to celebrate.
Yes.
I think
Happy
her party is waiting.
I'm going to open a bottle of wine.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
for
do
her
it.
stuff, yeah. Yeah, thank you very much, Gazi team, Studio Threshold, and thank you very much, Eindhoven team, Irene and Tom. I'm very happy to host you individually and together. I think you made a very good contribution to the topic of architectural education in the design studio. I had the very right examples here again. And I hope you also join our other meetings, the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th meetings. Thank you very much, everybody. All presentations were very fine. All questions and answers were very fine. I think we are leaving each other in a full satisfaction. So thank you very much to the listeners as well. As I said before, this meeting is recorded and will be published in YouTube channel. We have an Instagram page as well. You can find information about that. My colleague Gizem Özkanüstün is, I'm sure, sharing them. Thank you very much, Gizem. Yes, it is on the right-hand side. You can find. So, thanks a lot to everybody who joined us tonight. It was a very nice meeting that inspired us very positively. Thanks a lot and good night. We can